What's up, everybody? Answers time is here. I was kind of inspired to make this video today because I feel like amongst this hardcore subset of paulsego fans, shit was about to get real. You know what I mean? Like, when I didn't come through the first 2 or 3 days, people were like, "Hey, Paul. Hey, fat ass. Just kidding. JK, bro. When's that video coming? I mean, if you could give us an idea." You know, but anyway, take your time. Love your stuff. You know what I mean? And then, like, the last week, it turned, like, nasty. Like, people were getting nasty. It was like, "Hey, fat boy. Hey, listen, I know where you live. And more to the point, I know where your parents live. In fact, I'm sitting out in front of their house right now, watching your mom put her hair into a bun. She just got out of the shower. Such a nice lady. It'd be a shame if anything happened to her. That's where you come in. You're gonna make that fucking Don't talk. Don't say a goddamn word. I didn't tell you could talk. You're gonna make that goddamn video. Or else your mom's gonna be, shall we say, unhappy. Think about it." You know, like, shit was about to get real. So here I am, without further ado. I guess with a little further ado. I got a lot of good questions this time. I tried to be super fucking uber picky. I don't know how well I did, but I tried to narrow it down as much as possible. So let's just kick it off. Paul, have you ever been arrested? What would you be willing to get arrested for? I've never been arrested. I've been close. I've been really, like, right on the edge of getting arrested before. Cops typically don't like me, and I've come to figure this out over the very few run-ins that I've had with cops. I don't know why exactly, but I really rub cops in the wrong way for whatever reason. And before you say, well, it's probably because you're an asshole with them, probably because you're snappy and witty and shitty with them. No, actually. I go out of my way, to be nice to cops because I know that they can really put the shoe in your ass. I mean, it sucks to have to feel that way in a free society, but that is the way it is. I mean, a cop can really fuck your day up. The first time I ever really had a run-in with the police, I was a teenager. And I was riding in the back seat. I was with a group of friends. I was actually in my girlfriend's car. She was driving, and one of her female friends was in the front seat with her. I was in the back seat with another of our friends. And it may have had something to do with the way I looked at the time. You may or may not know this about me, but I used to have lots of piercings. Like, I had gauged earrings. I had a labret piercing, a tongue piercing, and an eyebrow piercing at one point, and all at the same time. Did I say a tongue piercing? Anyway, yes, a tongue piercing too. And and I used to wear this, like, all the time, and it was really ridiculous. Like, I look at pictures of myself. I do not have, I mean, I know that's kind of fallen out of fashion these days anyway, but I really didn't have the type of look that you needed. There was an edginess to having piercings, and I was the least edgy-looking person, so it just looked weird and out of place on me. But anyway, whatever. You know, I was a dumb kid. My parents allowed me to go hog wild with the piercing. So I was in the back seat. She gets pulled over. And this is just what women sometimes do with cops. She's crying before the cop even gets up to the window. You know what I mean? She's already weeping openly. And the cop, tells her, roll down your window. And he said, you have any idea how fast you were going? She's like, "No, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I wasn't paying attention." He goes, "Okay, it's okay. Just settle down." And I'm in the back seat like, "Don't let him look back here, please." I didn't have anything. I just had a feeling that, like, Anyway. So he said, "Let me get your license and registration." And so she goes to look for her purse, and then she realizes that she had handed me her purse, and it was sitting next to me. So she looks back and she goes, "Paul, can you hand me my purse?" And I said, "Sure." Now, here was the problem. She had a normal purse with straps and everything. And when I had buckled my seatbelt, like a good citizen, my seatbelt was buckled. When I buckled my seatbelt through one of the straps to her purse. So I picked up her purse and tried to hand it to her. And I was like, "Oh shit, my seatbelt's buckled." Now maybe at this point I should have, like, vocalized this to the cop, but I was trying to get her fucking purse as quickly as possible. So I reached down to, like, unbuckle my seatbelt so I can hand her purse into the front seat. And all of a sudden the cop is knocking on my window now, the left passenger window. and he's got one hand on his gun. He didn't draw it on me, but he's got a hand on his gun, and he said, son, you don't want to be reaching down there where I can't see where your hand is. And I was like, oh shit, her purse, my seatbelt is, he's like, yeah, do it, just, you gotta let me know when you're gonna reach down there like that. I said, okay, officer, and I hand her purse. Anyway, he looks at her license and registration, and he goes, you know what, miss, can you step out here with me for a second? And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, she have a warrant or something? They step out and go around the back of the car, but I can still hear everything that's being said. And the cop gives her this speech. He said, first and foremost, I want you to know I'm not going to ticket you tonight. You seem like a nice girl. You don't have any prior, traffic violations, anything outstanding. I ran your stuff. You're fine. I want to let you off with a warning. But the cost of that is this. I'm going to give you another warning. If you hang around with people like that little shithead in the back seat, you hang around with guys like that, you're going to get in nothing but trouble. I'm going to see you again, and the next time I see you, you're going to be in jail, okay? Guys like that never do anything with their lives. They're a drag, okay? And if you keep hanging around with people like that, you're going to go nowhere. And I'm sitting there listening to this like, is he fucking serious? Like me? Like me? That's me? What does he think I am? Like, what the fuck? Like, So anyway, yeah, that was that. She got off with a warning, and I got chastised, third person by a police officer who told her that I was going to do nothing with my life and do nothing but bring trouble to her. So yeah, cops don't really like me. But I've never been arrested. I've only been pulled over for speeding once, and of course I was written a ticket before the guy even got up to my fucking window. There was no talking my way out of it. What would I be willing to go to jail for? I don't know. It would have to be some sort of civil disobedience, I think. It would have to be some unjust law or some unjust practice. And, me out, participating in some sort of a sit-in or some sort of activism. I'd be willing to go to jail for something that I believed in. And if I ever did go to jail, that's what I would want it to be for. I would want it to be in pursuit of some social change. So there's that. If you had to pick one song to be the soundtrack of your life, what would it be and why? This is a tough question. Because your initial reaction might be, oh, just pick my favorite song. But I couldn't do that. Music is very distracting to me. I see people that walk around all day with their iPods on. I don't even own a fucking iPod, I'll be honest with you. I have a smartphone that's capable of loading MP3s onto it, and I don't have any music. I don't listen to because it's distracting to me. And I tend to be more distracted by music with really great lyrics. I'm very lyrically focused in music, just the way I am. And so if there's a song that I really love, I'm singing along to it all the time. And I would hate to pick a song to be the soundtrack of my life that's a song that I really love and end up hating it after a week of it playing on loop. You know what I mean? So you've got to be careful when picking the one song that's going to be soundtrack to your life. So lyrical songs are right out the window. So that narrows shit down. Then I started thinking maybe I'll pick something from a video game, one of the video games that I love, one of the pieces of music behind that. Because video game music has a tendency to be a little more ambient, a little more subtle, maybe wouldn't be such an intrusive thing. And so I thought maybe I'll pick the song Tristram from the original Diablo, which is widely considered by anybody who's intelligent to be some of the finest, if not the finest song ever to appear in a video game. But Tristram, and you can go look that up and listen to it, and if you want to disagree with me, keep your disagreement to yourself, actually. You're a moron if you don't agree with me. But that song is almost too distracting. It's not quite ambient enough. It's one of those songs that just I would hate to hate that song. And so my next choice, and this is the one that I went ahead and went with, and I think I've got it here somewhere. Let me see if I can. I opened it before I started this because I wanted to play. The song that I went with is from the video game, the original Deus Ex for the PC, and it's the UNATCO theme. It's badass, and it's got that cyberpunk feel to it, but it's suitably ambient enough to where I don't think it would be, too intrusive. So I'll play a little bit in the background as I go on here. That's really loud. Sorry. Yeah, this is. I think I could live with this, you know what I mean? Because it just kind of builds. There's these nice arpeggios that happen. I'd feel suitably like some sort of super agent or something. Love that. I love that. I think I could deal with that. So after thinking about it for a while, that's what I would pick. I'd pick the UNATCO theme from the original Deus Ex. Do with that what you will. What is your current relationship with TJ? Do you understand that he made a mistake, or are you still pissed at him? I'm referring to your Just Cause videos. Lots of people asked about this. Like, lots of people apparently are really concerned about TJ and I's relationship. And it's interesting to me. One of the most disappointing things about that little exchange back and forth that TJ and I had a couple of months ago was the audience reaction to it. And maybe part of it was our fault, but a lot of people focused on the pwnage thing. It was like, oh, TJ pwned yo ass, motherfucker. You pwned TJ a new ass. You know what I mean? And to me, there was something more important than the pwnage. And I think TJ and I have a tendency to wrap things in pwnage anyway. I mean, maybe it's a bad thing to do, but it's just the way that both of us have kind of done things on YouTube. And so there were elements of pwnage, but I think that the actual conversation that we had was far more meaningful than some internet pwnage fiesta, you know what I mean? And so many people focused on the pwnage aspect. That was a little disappointing. And then there were people that were like, man, come on, guys. Come on, don't fight, man. You guys are both awesome. I like you both, and I think you guys should work together, man. Don't fight. Don't fucking hate each other now. And I have to wonder, like, honestly, what kind of relationships these people have in their lives where, like, a simple disagreement, even a heated disagreement between two people that respect each other is grounds for just, fuck that person, I'm done with them. You know what I mean? Like, TJ and I, we don't know each other in real life. We've never really interacted much outside of YouTube, blog TV, this kind of internet environment. And I'll speak for myself, for those of you that are really wondering where I stand on TJ. I've always liked TJ. I respect his point of view. I'm entertained and informed by his videos. I've been a long-time subscriber of his, and it would take more than a simple philosophical disagreement for me to change my mind. In fact, disagreeing with TJ is more attractive to me than agreeing with everything that he says. I think that a good, meaningful relationship, even if it's just kind of an internet friendship, is made more meaningful by a little bit of disagreement. I don't want another me. You know what I mean? I live with me all day, and so I don't want somebody that just agrees with me on everything. It's nice to agree with people. It's nice to feel like you're not crazy and hear people say the same things that you say and, you know, couch things in different ways but get to the kind of the same points and I agree with that. That's nice. But what's even better is when two people that respect each other can come together and kind of learn a little bit from each other. And I'm not sure that's what happened between TJ and I. There was some talk for a while there of he and I getting together on one of his blog TVs, and for the record, I still hope this happens at some point in the future, because I think there's more to talk about, and I think it's important. But I do understand if it doesn't happen at this point, because it's been like, 2 months, and in internet time, that's like 6 years. So I'd understand if he's done with it, but I would be more than happy to discuss it with him, because I think that it's important. I think that the underlying philosophical issue behind all the pwnage and the emotional arguments was something that was really important. In fact, it's one of the most important things that I think people can discuss in these times. So I hope that happens, and it might. And if it does happen, I'll try and let you guys know. But yeah, I'm fine with TJ. Still watch him, still like him, still enjoy his videos, and it would take a lot more than a simple disagreement to diminish him in my eyes. I'm a young atheist vlogger who was inspired to make videos by you, TJ, and the like, but despite my small fan base, I find myself lacking YouTube spirit. What or who inspired you to start making videos, and what kept you coming back despite your, at the time, small view count? You're asking for my advice. What I understand about YouTube is this, and if you really want my advice, I'm going to give it to you 100%. Number one, stop calling yourself an atheist vlogger, because Okay, look, I'm not saying don't make videos about atheism, but I'm saying defining yourself as an atheist vlogger, if that's all, look, I spent the first parts of my channel doing nothing but atheism, and I burned myself out on it to the point where I hardly even want to talk about it anymore. I'm not saying that I'll never do another atheist video, but don't pigeonhole yourself into being an atheist. You know, because trust me, like, you don't want to be a part of the YouTube atheist community. There's nothing to it. It's so cliquey and weird that there's really no reason to try and throw your lot in there. Talk about your life. Talk about other things that interest you and make atheism a part of that. But don't call yourself an atheist vlogger, or don't aspire to be an atheist vlogger, because how many millions of people now, or hundreds of thousands probably, of people out there making atheist videos on YouTube, and it's just, you know, it's been done and done. Another thing is the way that I got popular on YouTube was I made video responses to people who had more subscribers than I did. And I didn't do it purposefully to try and get, oh, yeah, this person's going to like me and they're going to, you know what I mean? But you could. But that's the best way to do it, is to try and inspire somebody that already has a bigger, I mean, it sucks that it works that way, but that's the truth. You have to kind of leech off of other people on YouTube. I wouldn't have hardly any subscribers if it wasn't for the initial shout-out that I got from Brett Keane way back in the fucking day when I first started, and the subsequent shout-outs that I've gotten, you know, from guys like, you know, TJ and Fake Sagan / The Smooth Terrorist and Saturnine Films and Tommy from the Bronx. I mean, all of these guys played a part in my channel becoming as popular as it was. And the only reason those guys knew about me is because I made video responses to their shit and engaged them in conversation. So that's your best bet, unfortunately, to break out of the I've got 10 subscribers and 3 people watch my videos kind of rut. Yeah, so that's the best advice I can give you. Don't pigeonhole yourself into being an atheist vlogger, because YouTube doesn't need any more atheist vloggers. YouTube, and see, I'm saying that from experience. There are probably people that disagree with me. There are probably people that just watch nothing but atheism. Like, they come home and they watch 6 hours of atheism on YouTube. But for me, what attracts me to a person, to a vlogger, is not the fact that they're an atheist, or the fact that they're a libertarian, or the fact that they're a democratic socialist, or whatever, you know, that they agree with me politically or they disagree vehemently with me politically. It's their ability to relate to themselves. I like watching real people, and I like people that don't couch their videos in a whole lot of production. Now, some people do that really well, but I prefer to watch people speak from the heart. So that would be my best advice to you. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Speak from the heart, and start sucking up to some larger YouTubers, because that's the best way to do it, unfortunately. How do you sit on the political spectrum? I figure you're a liberal. Are you libertarian in any ways? What level of freedoms do you think we should all have in terms of society? I'd love to hear how your ideal government would be set up. I mentioned it in the last video. I consider myself to be a democratic socialist, and that doesn't help, because if you've never heard the term before, you could go on the internet and you're going to find like 18,000 different definitions. I mean, democratic socialists don't agree with each other, so there's like a bunch of people. But for me, it really is. It boils down. If I boil down my political philosophy to the simplest terms, it's this: there is a reason that a group of people enter into a contract of governance with one another, and that reason is that government should aid people to do things in their lives that they couldn't do alone. Your life should be better as a citizen of a governed populace than it should be living in a fucking tent, you know, digging up roots for dinner. And that we all have a duty to one another. We have a duty to those that have less than us in society, and that's what society should be about. Society should be the most egalitarian thing possible. People, not profits. You know what I mean? That's distilled. That's my political philosophy. I think that we should be pushed, that we should be encouraged by the government, and that in fact we shouldn't even need government encouragement. We should be an empathetic and sympathetic people. I can't remember for the life of me. I'm terrible with quotes, and I'm terrible with attributing to people. So maybe somebody will say in the in the comments. But there was a quote by a political philosopher, and I'm paraphrasing badly here, that said, we should strive to create the society that we would all want if we didn't know who we would be in advance. That's it for me. And if you think about that, that's really the basis. That's what government should be. We should strive to create the government, the country that we would all want to live in if we did not know in advance who or what we would be. So if people did that, this society would be much more egalitarian. Okay, nobody's going to take the chance. They're going to say, I want a very oppressed lower and middle class, and I want a super rich, super concentrated, powerful upper class. I want most of the wealth in this country to be concentrated in the top 1/10 of 1%. And then they're going to roll the dice and hope that they're up in the 1/10 of 1%. No, they're going to strive to make a society that's as equal as possible, that allows people to live their lives and to pursue happiness to the greatest extent possible, despite their economic situation. They're gonna worry, like, what if I get sick? If I'm not rich, I won't be able to afford health care. Health care should be a right. You know what I mean? That to me, and like I said, I cannot remember who it was that first said that, but we should strive to create the type of country we would all want to live in if we didn't know in advance who or what we would be. That's my political philosophy boiled down. Let's see. I'm moving kind of fast through these today. My question, explain your very first and second, because that's the best one, masturbation session and how it came about. You must explain every detail with complete accuracy. Also, as a minor addition, have you ever been caught fapping? I don't know if I can remember, to be honest with you, every detail of my first masturbation session. And even if I did, I'd feel kind of a little bit creepy, like giving you every detail of it. But I'll do my best. Ask and ye shall receive, as I said before. I will do my level-headed best. I think the first time I masturbated, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And this is what I remember. I remember I had relatively recently started getting erections, like, all the time. And my parents had the talk with me, and I'd received some rudimentary sexual education in school. So I knew what it was. It wasn't like I was like, oh my God, my cock is going to fall off. I knew what it was. I knew in a very roundabout way what sex was and why my penis got hard. I knew that it had to get hard so that I could put it in a girl's vagina. Now, the logistics of that, I had no idea how that all came about, but I knew that that's what that was. I was prepared for it to happen, so it didn't freak me out. But unfortunately, it was really annoying, because I would get boners, and at the weirdest time of day, and it's an uncomfortable thing. I mean, you can't, like, go walking around with a giant fucking boner. That sucks as a guy, you know what I mean? And it started to get really annoying. And so I came up with this technique to get the boner to go away. And this was not rooted in a desire to masturbate. There was nothing sexual about this at the beginning. But I would, and this is not an accurate representation of the thickness of my dick. It's close, but what I would do is I would grab it like this and squeeze. Like, not so hard that it, like, hurt, but squeeze, and eventually what would happen is, as a result of that, the blood would drain out and the erection would subside. And so that was my technique, because I hated, like, having to fucking sit on the couch and go, fuck, boner, please go away. So I would sneak away real quick. I would, like, cover and run to the bathroom and go, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then I would sit on the toilet or sit in my room or whatever and squeeze, and it would eventually, that worked. And I remember the first time I ever masturbated, it was an accident. I didn't even intend to masturbate, really, because that was something I didn't know how to do. I was in my room one night, and it was late. I think it was nighttime. I had gone to bed already, and I had this boner that would not go away. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to try and squeeze this thing. And so I started squeezing it, and I don't know if it was just like, I shifted or something and moved my hand a little bit, and I was like, that was kind of nice. And it didn't take long at all. I mean, it was like, I went, oh, that was interesting. And I went like 2 more times, and I had that did scare me. Now, the erection didn't bother me, because I knew what that was. But the orgasm, nobody had prepared me for that. I had no idea what the fuck had just happened. I was like, holy shit. That was the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. And it started off, like at least 6 or 8 year obsession with masturbation, just constantly. It didn't take long after that till I was a fucking zoo monkey. I mean, like, of course, the next day, all I could think about was like, I want to do that again. And trying to, if I remember correctly, it wasn't easy at first because I really didn't know what it was that I'd done in the first place. So recreating it was frustrating. And so I finally figured out through process of elimination, as most guys do, that lubrication helps. And then I finally figured out after trying many different viscous substances that hand lotion was the good one. And luckily for me, I lived with, let me count, mom, sister. I lived with, at times, because I had 2 stepsisters and a biological sister on that side of my family. I was living with my mom at this point. There was lotion fucking everywhere. It's like chicks, they all have like 8 bottles of lotion. And so I tried the different types of lotions available to me. And the one that I found, and I think this is just a truism throughout the entire world, was good old Jergens. Good old Jergens. Oh, Jergens, I know what you're creating that lotion for. You're not concerned with moisturizing people's hands. Jergens, you're the perfect level of slipperiness and the nice, muted but nice smell that you've got. I know Jergens. Of course it was Jergens, and my mom had, she would buy that tub. You know what I mean? A giant tub of Jergens. And, at first, I was really careful because after I started doing this, the biggest dread, of course, is like you said at the end of this question, getting caught fapping, and I have been caught fapping, by the way, twice, and I'll tell you both of those. You don't want to get caught, so I was super careful at the beginning. I would wait until my mom was like at work, and I would sneak into her bathroom and steal her giant jug of Jergens and go back, to my room and defile myself. All night long, for as long as I possibly could stand to, until my mom was about to come home, and then I would replace the Jergens, right? I was real careful at the beginning, but then as time went on, I started to get sloppy, and I started to discover one of the greatest things in the world, which I know most guys will attest to this, is there are a few things greater in the world than jerking off and then taking a nap. And that was my downfall, everybody. Jerking off and then taking a nap was my downfall. Because what happened is, I spent all day jerking off, and I was like, oh, man, I sure could use a nap. It's been a hard day, let me tell you. And instead of doing what I always did and carefully going back into my mom's room and replacing the Jergens, I placed it in I was like, I'll put that away later. Mom's not going to be home for like 6 hours. I'm going to take a little nap. So I put it in my nightstand and closed the door of my nightstand and forgot about it, completely forgot about it. Mom came home, and I just completely forgot that I had the Jergens in my room. And this is where shit gets humiliating, right? Because even at the time, I knew my mom knew when she approached me the next day and said, it was so fucking awkward, you know what I mean? She comes up to me and she's like, Paul? Like, yeah? Do you, I don't know how to say this. Do you, have any idea where my Jergens is at? And instantly the blood drains out of my fucking face. I'm like, I have the Jergens in my room. Fuck! And I'm like, what? What is that? She's like, my Jergens hand lotion. It went missing. I went to use some this morning before I went to work, and I couldn't find it. You wouldn't know where that's at. And I knew that she knew. It was just so obvious. And she was trying. My mom's really nice. She's a really, really selfless woman. And she was trying so hard not to embarrass me. She was giving me every fucking opportunity to not be embarrassed. But there's just no way. She's like, do you have any idea where that Jergens might have gone to? I sure would appreciate if that Jergens, if you do see it, let me know, because that stuff's kind of expensive. I don't want to have to buy a whole nother thing of it. So if you see it around, I'm like, oh yeah. If I see it around the house, I'll, I don't know why you would even ask me about the Jergens, because I'm a dude. I don't use lotion. You know what I mean? But if I see it laying around, I'll tell you. She goes, okay, thanks. And instantly I went back to my room and started plotting. There had to be a way out of this. There had to be a way for me to save face. And, of course there was really no way. But I could not imagine having to go to my mom and go, oh yeah, here's your jerkins. I didn't want to have to look her in the eye. I didn't want to have to talk to her. I just didn't want her to know. And so I came up with this plan. I waited until she left the house that night. And then I took it back in her bathroom. But did I place it right back up on her sink where I was getting it? No. That would have been dumb. That would have invited her to go, oh, you brought the jerkins back. I didn't want that. So I thought, I was like, I have to make this look like it was her fault. And then I realized her sink was right next to her toilet, right? She had the sink with her vanity mirror and the bowl sink, and then right next to that is her toilet. And I was like, what if I put the jerkins behind the toilet on its side? So it looks like it fell off the counter. Like she was just tired, getting ready for work, and just oops for a bit, and then it would be her fault. And then she would have to admit to herself that I wasn't jerking off with the jerkins. Yes, it's perfect. And so that's what I did. I put the jerkins on the floor behind her toilet and really positioned it. So, in fact, I think I knocked it off a couple of times and saw how it fell. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly how it would fell. If I woke up in the morning and stumbled and was like, oh, I need that. And yeah, perfect. I put it there and I was like, oh, I fucking dodged the bullet on this one. And of course I didn't. My mom knew exactly what was going on because she approached me the next day. And she probably could have just let it slide. But I think that she, wanted to win for whatever reason. And she goes, oh, PJ, you know what? I'm sorry, PJ. That's another of my nicknames. My family called PJ's for Paul Jr. I'm a junior. So PJ, yeah, you know that jerkins? I was like, yeah. Whatever, that lotion shit you were talking about? Yeah, what about? It's like, yeah, that, I found it behind my toilet. I must have knocked it off behind. I'm sorry I even came to you with that. That just silly old me. And I knew she knew. At that moment, I knew she knew. And my profound, love and respect for my mom was doubled because she gave me an out. You know what I mean? She came to me and was like, I sure am absent-minded. I'm tired when I get up for work, PJ, and I just must have knocked it off the toilet. So, that was the first time I ever got caught jerking it. And, that's great motherhood, right? That's parental love at its best. Because she knew. There was no way she didn't know. And the second time I got caught jerking off was I used to work a job where I worked really early in the morning. I would leave the house before my then girlfriend, now wife. I would leave the house 3 or 4 hours before she even had to be up, and I would get home 3 or 4 hours before she would get home from work. And so it worked out sometimes because it allowed me this 4-hour period after work where I could do whatever I wanted. And nobody was going to come home. I had the house to myself for that period of time, which was nice, and it just so happened that one day I came home from work and I was like, I think I'm going to jerk off. Hey, what else do I have to do? And nobody's here. I may as well jerk off. Now this is, if you look at my old videos, this is the condo that I used to live in. So my computer, if you remember my old videos and ever looked behind me, you could see that where my computer was, it was underneath the stairs going upstairs. There was a little space where my computer desk was. And the computer was in full view of the entire living room. The front door was always right over my shoulder in those old videos. And so if somebody came in, they would have, but, nobody's coming home. My wife's at work for another 5 fucking hours. I got all day to jerk off if I want to. And everybody, and guys will tell you this. Sometimes masturbation is a quick and expedient thing. Sometimes you just want to rub one out and be done with it. And sometimes you want to take your time. You know what I mean? You want to peruse the pornography and find that you don't want to waste a masturbation session on a piece of substandard pornography. You want to find exactly what it is that you are in the mood for, and down to the detail. And so you spend some time prolonging the act and drawing it out. And because I had so much time that day, why the fuck not? I just was like, oh, nah, that ain't good. And had my dick out and was just kind of, every once in a while messing with it, but just mostly watching some porn. Nah, I'm not really feeling that today, and I'm not Nah. And as I'm doing this, I find, I spent like 2 hours probably just surfing pornography. And I finally find what it is I'm looking for. I don't remember what it was that particular day, but I find what it is, find what I need that day. And I start going to town. Unfortunately for me, my wife at this point was almost home. She had left work early or something, or came home, a very rare trip home because she worked all the way across town to eat lunch or something. So she had come home, and I'm sitting there, and stupid-ass me hadn't locked the front door because I was exhausted when I came home. I'd started work at 4 in the morning, so when I came home, I just let myself in. I'm going to go jerk off. Didn't lock the front door. So I did not have time to react. I was literally right at the point of orgasm. Like, literally past the point of no return. I'm about to bust a nut, and I hear the fucking door. And I just had time to turn around and go, ah! And my wife is standing there. And my pants are around my fucking ankles. My dick is in my hand. There's probably sperm flying everywhere. There's probably, fucking semen squirting halfway across the fucking room. And what do? Like, in that situation, there's nothing you can do. And luckily for me, my wife is cool. I've known some guys that their wives get really freaked out that they look at porn. They're like, you can't do it. Why do you masturbate? You've got me. My wife understands, that all guys masturbate. But it's still an uncomfortable situation. So I just went, hi. And she's like, yeah, okay. And walked upstairs. I wasn't in trouble, but it was a little uncomfortable. But she went upstairs and gave me time to clean myself up, and then we didn't really speak much of it after that. It was just kind of a foregone conclusion. But there's some fapping stories for you. Let's see. Have you ever had a gay experience? If not, would you be interested in one? This is actually a tough question to answer. My initial response is no. But if I'm honest, I started thinking, and I thought back over the course of my life and the memories that I have and the stories that I've accumulated in those times. And there are 2 incidences that I'm not 100% sure if they qualify as a homosexual experience or not. And I know that there are some of you out there like, dude, if you have to think about it, it's probably gay. Okay, well, whatever. But I'll tell these stories, and I will leave it up to you to decide whether or not I've had a homosexual experience. Because I don't know which way I don't know how to call this. The first story happened when I was 5 or 6 years old. And that right there is the reason that I kind of discount it. Because I'm pretty sure that kids of that age don't really have a concept of sexuality. And if they do, it's kind of a proto-sexuality. So there's not, I don't know that it's possible for kids to have of 5 years old to have a homosexual experience, but I'll tell you the story. Here's how the story was told to me, because I don't have a whole lot of clear memories of this, but my mother has told me the story, and I have no reason to believe that she'd ever lie to me. So I was hanging out. I was 5 years old, and my best friend at this time was a kid named John, and he was a year older than me, so he would have been 6 at the time. And we grew up at this time. I lived out in the country, so we had a lot of land. And kids out in the country had a lot more leeway than city kids do these days. I mean, it was not uncommon for parents to let 5, 6, 7-year-old kids run around in the yard and run across the street if they wanted to. I mean, there was no car. There was country. So my mom put us out in the backyard and was like, hey, you guys play. I'm going to go make lunch. And so she went inside to, make us some grilled cheese sandwiches or, some hot dogs or something for lunch. She comes back out to say, hey, guys, come get lunch, and she goes into the backyard, and John and I are nowhere to be seen. And right as she notices that we're nowhere to be seen, she hears us around the corner of the house where the driveway is. And so she starts walking over there to come get us. Walks over to the driveway, doesn't immediately see us, and then hears somebody again, and she realizes where we are. We are in the bed of my dad's pickup truck. My dad had one of those old 1969 Ford F-250s or F-150s or something, just a really old pickup truck with a big bed. And like I said, I don't have clear-cut memories of this, so I'm just relaying to you the story that my mom's told. This is the scene that unfolds as she walks over to the pickup truck. She walks over to the pickup truck, and the first thing she sees is me. And I am on my hands and knees in the pickup truck with my pants and underwear down around my ankles. and my ass sticking up in the air. Then her eyes drift to John, who is sitting a couple of feet behind me, sitting Indian style behind me, with his hands, his head on his hands like this, and he's very academically examining what's going on, in my ass, balls, and penis area. Just very, studiously like, My mom takes a second look at me, and this is when she realizes what it was John was really checking out. And apparently, I had a plastic toy screwdriver. Those little tool sets that little kids have. I had a plastic toy screwdriver buried to the hilt in my asshole. And that's what John was checking out. He was like, that's an interesting situation. I did not know that you could put a plastic screwdriver in an asshole. And I was apparently perfectly happy to show him that it was indeed possible. Now, I don't know who put the screwdriver in my ass. I don't know if it was me or if he assisted. I don't know if that has a bearing on whether or not it was a homosexual experience. But I do know that, like, if we were much older, like certainly if we were 12, that would be considered a homosexual experience, or if I did it now, if I called my roommate Brian and I was like, hey dude, come here. It's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to get on my hands and knees and I'm going to jam this screwdriver in my ass and I want you to check it out. Oh yeah, sure dude. Yeah, that would be, at this point, it's a gay experience. When I was 5 or 6, I don't know. So you tell me. The second one's a little more complicated. Second one is going to require a little bit more explanation, and I hope you'll bear with me. The second one happened when I was 14 years old. No, I know. It's a gay experience. It is. That's and maybe you're right. I don't know, but I'm going to tell the story. I was 14 years old, and interestingly enough, John is involved in this one too. We were still friends at this time, although he wasn't directly involved this time. It just happened at his house at a get-together with a bunch of guys. So John and I were hanging out. His parents had gone out of town for whatever reason, and we decided that we were all going to hang out over at John's house and sleep over, play video games, and drink. Now, I've stated before that I grew up in an alcoholic household. So at 14, I'd already been drunk several times, multiple times. This was no new ground to me. And I had drunk before with John and Jason and Matt, who were the other guys that were there. We had all been drunk together before, and it was perfectly fine. We sat around, had a few beers, had some shots or whatever, played some video games, passed out, everything was fine. The wild card in this situation was my friend Waylon, who I believe I've mentioned in previous videos. Waylon and I have known each other since we were 6 or 7 years old, and he's my longest-lived friend. I've known him longer than I've known any of my other friends. We're still friends to this day. We still kick it. Waylon was raised in a much more sheltered environment than any of the rest of us. Waylon had never touched a drop of alcohol before. And I guess if I was a little bit older and a little more mature, I would have been more trepidatious about the situation, because let me just digress for a second. Growing up in an alcoholic household, I've come to really respect people that can handle their drink, because it's a skill. Handling your liquor and or any other substance that you choose to take is a skill. And it speaks a lot to me about a person when they can come to a social gathering, get drunk or stoned or shroom or whatever, and not be a burden on everybody else at the party. It's a skill, and it's something that gives people instant respect points in my mind. If you can drink and remain mellow and not be a burden and not require constant babysitting, then you're already pretty cool in my book. But then there are other people, and you know who you are. I'm sure there are some of you out there. People that when they drink, they have major inhibition problems and require constant babysitting. So now the party, for most of the people at the party, is no longer about socializing, having fun, joking around, getting a little buzzed, drinking, having a good time. Now it's about, holy shit, what's this guy going to do? Is he going to get in a fight? Is he going to pull a knife on somebody? Is he going to punch somebody in the face? Is he going to trip and bust his head open? Is he going to puke all over the couch? You know what I mean? This person is now the focal point of the party, and not in a positive fucking way, right? You're having to babysit this asshole. I fucking hate that. Because I don't think there's an excuse for it. Maybe there was an excuse in this instance in Waylon's case, because he'd never been drunk before. But Waylon continues to be, and he's mellowed in his older years, but he continues to be a guy that when he reaches a certain level of drunkenness, everything at the party becomes about him, because he's yelling and screaming and tripping on things and grabbing sprinklers out of the ground and throwing them, and I dropped your phone down the toilet, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? He's that guy. And if you've had that type of experience drinking before and you continue to do it, go fuck yourself, please. Go fuck yourself, please. Let the rest of us adults have a good fucking time and drink alone. Drink alone so you can, hey, stumble around your fucking room by yourself, you know, and make yourself miserable, and let the rest of us handle the social drinking. Learn your fucking limits. You know, if you're the type of person that reaches a certain level and become blackout drunk, don't drink to that level. Have a few beers, get a nice buzz, and have a good time like a fucking gentleman. Or a lady. Such as the case may be, because women don't get a pass on this. There's some fucking dumbass, drunk-ass women, too. Anyway, Waylon's first time drinking in this story. So we had no way of knowing that Waylon was going to be like this. He was a crazy kid, but we were all weird, crazy, nerdy, dorky kids, so that wasn't, to me, any indication that he was going to be a retard when he was drunk. But it turns out that he was. It started off okay, but once Waylon reached a certain level, he started getting louder, started to get obnoxious. At one point, he picked a fight with this other guy that was there, Jason, who is this really soft-spoken, unassuming guy that would never fight anybody, and he, like, shoved this guy. I had to go break that up. So now, and it's early, too. This isn't like way late in the night where this type of shit is like, okay, the party's winding down and somebody got a little too drunk. It's like 7:30, right, in the summer. The fucking sun is still out at this point, right? I mean, we haven't even started. We've had like 3 or 4 beers and a shot max, you know what I mean? And Waylon is already, hey, you know, I had to break up a fight. He's stumbling around. He's breaking things. You know what I mean? And so we all decided as a group, the rest of us fucking people that could handle our shit, decided Waylon's cut off. Like, he can't drink anymore. Because if this gets any worse, the cops are going to get called. And at this point, when you're a teenager, drinking is a bigger responsibility than you think when you're a teenager. Because you could really get your parents in trouble. You know, let alone yourself, you know. If the cops get called and the cops bust in on a party with a bunch of 14-year-olds and the parent, I mean, your parents are going to reap the fucking benefits or non-benefits of that. Your parents are going to end up getting fucked. You know what I mean? So you have to keep things cool. And Waylon is not being cool. So we decide to cut him off. But he keeps sneaking away. He goes, oh, I got to go take a piss. And he'll disappear to pee, and then we'll all notice, oh, fuck, where's Waylon at? And we'll look, and he's in the kitchen slamming a beer or drinking right out of the little fifth of Jack Daniels that we had or something. And so he just gets to the point where he's so fucking obnoxious that we can't stand it. And so we decide that we're going to go sit outside because we don't want him to break something. And John had a big backyard, you know, just really big, and it was out in the country, like I said. So there, you know, he could yell a little bit outside, and people aren't going to fucking freak out, and he couldn't break anything. Eventually, Waylon reached that point of drunkenness that we're all familiar with, I think, where you've drank too much, and now you're no longer feeling good and drunk. Now you're feeling sick. Now you're like, oh, shit. And Waylon finally reached that point. And to be honest with you, the rest of us were fucking completely relieved. We were happy that he was feeling like shit. Because now we could all sit out in the backyard. If he puked, the worst thing that happened is we'd have to hose the fucking concrete off. You know, ideally, he'd go puke on the grass or vomit in a bush and then pass out on the carpet or something. And we could all continue to have a good time at the party. So we're sitting out on the back porch smoking cigarettes and having a couple beers, and we're starting to have a good time at the party again. The party is coming back to a good place. Waylon's sitting there in his chair with his head down like, oh, God. Guys, I don't feel good. And we're like, good, good. I'm glad you don't feel good. You know, oh, God. I drank too much of whiskey. Yeah, I don't feel, and so that's all we're having to put up with. So we're having a good time finally. And then it happened. All of a sudden, Waylon goes from like, oh, God. And he looks at me. He raises his head up and it's like, shh. and he's looking right at me. Mean mugging me. You know what I mean? Like give me the shit eye. Like, and I was trying to ignore it. I was over here talking to my friends, but you know, you can tell when there are eyes on you. You get that feeling, that skin crawly type of feeling. Somebody's looking. And I ignored it for as long as I could, and finally I had to just acknowledge, like, Waylon is fucking staring me down. What the fuck is the problem? So he wasn't making a noise. He was just... And so I finally look over at him, and I'm like, dude, is there like, what's going on? What's the problem? Why are you staring at me? And he goes, you think I'm fucking deaf, don't you? I was like, I think you're fucking deaf. No, I think you're okay. I think you're going to be fine. Just go, you know, you're fine. Why are you, what's the deal? Like, no. You think I can't hear you? Over there, talking fucking shit about me? Talking fucking shit about me when I'm sitting fucking right here? Like, you're gonna fucking talk shit? You're gonna run your fucking mouth? Now, it's at this point that I had a choice, and I probably made the wrong choice. Having dealt with drunk people in the past, I probably should have just gone, dude, I'm sorry, whatever I said, I apologize, I didn't mean it, just chill out. And I might have been able to diffuse the situation. But up until this point, I'd been dealing with Waylon's bullshit for so fucking long that I wasn't going to pretend I wasn't talking shit or even pretend I was sad about it. I was going to tell him the truth. And so I said, yeah, dude, I'm talking shit. Everybody at this table is talking shit because for the last hour and a half, you've been acting like a dick. I was like, everybody else here is fine. We've all been drinking too. Notice none of us are flailing around, screaming, picking fights. I mean, you've been acting like an asshole. And when you act like an asshole, people tend to talk shit. So stop acting like an asshole. And everybody kind of chuckled at that, and I thought, yeah, maybe that'll put him in his place. And he goes, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. How's that? How you like that? How's that? How's that for being, you know, the belligerent fucking, your typical belligerent fucking macho drunk, right? How about that? How about I fucking beat your fucking ass, and then we'll see who's talking shit, bro. How about that happens? I'm like, dude, seriously, calm the fuck down. Honestly, you're not going to beat anybody's ass. Don't fucking be stupid. There are like 4 of us and 1 of you. Nobody here is going to allow you to beat anybody's fucking ass. Just please calm down. Why don't you go lay down? Why don't you go lay down on the couch, or we'll make you a little bed out here or whatever. You'll feel better. And he's like, no. I changed my mind, bro. I changed my mind. I'm not gonna beat your ass. I was like, good. I'm glad to hear that, Waylon. Thank you, bro. He goes, no, I'm not gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna fuck you up the ass. Now, at this point, everybody at the party laughed. Everybody except for myself and Waylon. The other 3 guys at the party thought that was hilarious. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't directed at me in this particular situation, I probably would have thought it was hilarious too. I probably would have been ha-ha-haing along with the rest of them. But the reason that the rest of them were laughing and I wasn't was because I was looking right into Waylon's eyes when he said this. And he was giving me a look that I can't reproduce for you because I don't think I've ever had the occasion to ever give a person this look in my entire life, nor would I know how to if I wanted to. It was a look I can only describe as the I'm going to pull my penis out and stick it in your unwilling asshole look. It was the most frightening look anybody I think has ever given me. It was. And this is, like I said, a poor reproduction, because I don't even know how to act this. But he was like, fuck you up your ass. How's that? I'm going to fuck you. And so I'm like, and everybody's laughing. It was at this point that Waylon did something that most people have seen in movies, or maybe you've experienced it firsthand. When a person stands up with such force and purpose that their chair goes flying behind them. And Waylon did this. He stood up so fucking violently that his chair fell over behind him. And he starts coming for me. And it's at this moment that my fight or flight instinct kicks in. And anybody that knows me well will tell you that 9 times out of 10, in a fight or flight situation, it's flight for me. I'm going to flee. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a violent person. I suppose if somebody was beating the shit out of my mom, I'd have no choice. But when it comes to, like, preserving myself, I've never been like a Karate Kid, like, come on, you know what I mean? Let me do the crane. No, I'm gone. I'm also not a runner. You could probably tell by looking at me that running is not my forte. But a few things played into this. Like I said, John had a really big backyard. And I've described this backyard before in one of my videos, in a video called Tell Me a Story I Couldn't Possibly Believe, I believe. And I've described this backyard. It's the same backyard, but I'll describe it again for those of you that haven't seen that or don't remember. It was a long, wide, sloped backyard with a pretty steep slope to it, and it was big. I mean, it went on. It wasn't just a little hill, a little dip or something. It was a long, steady, pretty decent grade of slope. And down at the very bottom, way kind of far away, was a pond. And the only direction that I could possibly book in that instant of fight or flight was down that fucking slope. It was the only way that I could go that Waylon wasn't going to get his hands on me. So I take off. Now, like I said, I'm not a runner, but the combination of the adrenaline, that fight or flight instinct that I was talking about, and that slope meant that I was running faster than I've ever run in my entire life. My feet were barely fucking touching the ground. I mean, I had so much momentum, you know what I mean, going down that fucking hill, that I was almost not in control of the run. And one more thing played into it, too. As I was running, I didn't dare look back, but I could hear Waylon right behind me. I could almost feel his hot, sticky, drunk breath on the back of my neck. He was that close. And he was gibbering like some kind of demon. He was making noises that I can only describe as ass rape noises. He was like, I'm gonna, you know, and he's right fucking behind me, and I can hear this. Now, there's another factor we have to consider here. At this time, I was 14, so this would have been this would have been 1994. And in 1994, amongst my peer group, you know, teenage males in 1994 in the area that I lived, the style of clothing was baggy. And everybody wore baggy jeans and kind of oversized T-shirts. And for fat guys, it was even doubly baggy. You know what I mean? We loved that. I mean, that was a great era to be a fat guy in, because fat people believe that baggy clothes effectively hide their thunder, you know, to quote Tobias Funke. We think that. Of course, it's not true. We think that big clothes make us look less big, but they actually probably just accentuate how fucking fat we are. But everybody was wearing baggier clothes then, and I was, you know, in on this. I had some baggy-ass clothes on. Problem with baggy-ass clothes on is that they don't fit. And so as I'm running, which is not something that I ever did in these pants are starting to slip down. And so I've had to, instead of pumping both arms like this, trying desperately to get away from the rapist behind me, I'm now grabbing the waistband of my pants with one arm, trying desperately to keep them up while I run, with Waylon gibbering right behind me and just fear and adrenaline pumping through me. And finally, I lose that battle, and the pants slip down. The pants, I let go accidentally or bumped my arm, and the pants slip down around my ankles, and I go flying. My momentum was such that there was just no way I was going to, like, stumble a little bit and kick the pants off. No. I went airborne. I was still only halfway or so down this fucking hill, and I just took flight. I just fucking immediately airborne, right? And I still to this day don't have any idea how Waylon did this. Now, I should say that Waylon was a much more athletic guy than I was. He was bigger, taller, stronger, in better shape. He was a football guy. I was not. So he did something that to this day I can't even understand. As I'm flying through the air, he leaps. And he was close enough to leap into the air like some sort of demon frog or something. He just and fucking leaps and grabs me around the waist in midair. We're both airborne now. And he grabs me in a position that I can only describe as doggy style. And when I say that, I don't mean the human position of doggy style. I mean like how dogs fuck other dogs, doggy style. His arms slip around my waist, and and his hands lock. He locks his hand around his wrist, and he pulls me into himself, and I shit you not, begins dry humping my ass in midair. By the time we hit the ground, he was already, in fucking midair. And I hit the ground eventually. And I think if I had just fallen by myself, it would have been sufficient to knock the wind out of me. My weight alone hitting the ground chest first like that would have been sufficient to knock the wind out of me. But with Waylon on top of me, when both of us hit the ground, I almost lost consciousness. Because I hit the ground and then he's on top of me, so it's just, I almost lost consciousness. I mean, I hit the ground so fucking hard. Now, mind you, the reason I fell was because my pants fucking fell down around my ankles. I still had my underwear on. Waylon is dry humping me through my underwear, through his jeans and through my underwear. And while I hit the ground, the air gets knocked out of me. And anybody that's ever had their wind knocked out of them knows it's one of the most terrifying things in the world. You hit the ground, your first instinct is to take a giant gasping breath. And you go, and there's nothing there. You can't breathe. Waylon didn't skip a beat. He hit the ground, bounced off of me like I was some sort of fucking flotation device or fucking fall-breaking device, and instantly just pulls me up to where my ass is in the air and starts fucking dry humping my ass. He says, fucking told you. And I can't scream. I can't breathe. I don't even know where the fuck I am. All I know is that somebody's trying to fuck me in the ass, and I'm gonna die like this. This is like, I'm gonna die with some guy trying to fuck me up the ass. And finally, I get enough breath. You know what I mean? I croak enough breath into my lungs to let out a rudimentary scream. Something primal from deep inside of me. Something that human beings don't use all that often anymore in modern life. Just a... And luckily for me, my other friends at this point... Oh, my God. My other friends at this point had run down the hill and managed to dislodge Waylon from me and hold him down and allow me to gain back my ability to breathe and think. But at that point, your dignity is gone. You know what I mean? Because once you're no longer concerned with breathing, once that's sussed out, you're laying on the grass with your ass in the air, having just had a guy pulled off of you. I don't know if that counts as a homosexual experience. There was, to my knowledge, no penetration. My underwear never came down, and I don't think that he had time enough to get his pants down and his dick out. But it feels distinctly sexual. There's something about it that feels distinctly, even though it wasn't something I asked for. It feels like so I don't know. I will leave it up to you guys to tell me whether or not I've had whether or not I've had a homosexual experience. Let me know in the comments. I think I'm going to call it a video there. So that's part one. I will hit you back up. I will hit you back up with part two soon. So until next time. Peace.